How you doing?
How are you?
Good.
All right, we're getting near the top of the hour, but I think we still got a couple of people that might still be slowly trickling in. So we're gonna give them a couple more minutes, and then we're gonna get started. All right, guys.
It is a little dim, but yeah. I can certainly ask about that. I was uninformed or anything, but I'll check that out because it is a I haven't heard anything as far as maybe she was. Let me answer please. Okay.
Could be light. I guess we should have a bigger room. Yeah. We have too much history to folks who are talented as well. we're ready to go. I mean, at this point, we're not waiting anymore. This two ground here is going to be hot. So, all right, if you don't mind, make a brief little announcement. Let them know we're going to start the live broadcast, and then it's going to be your show. So,
Good morning, everyone. I'm just going to make a few quick kind of ground rules on this and go through our procedures for the day. If you don't know me, my name is Mike Emery. I'm the Director of Public Information for Pitt County Government. Want to thank everybody for participating today. Real quick note, the county, while we are organizing this is a cooperative and collaborative effort. So each entity that speaks to you will be speaking from an autonomous standpoint and answering questions from their own individual perspective. So I'm very grateful for everyone to participate, and I know there's a lot of people in here and there's a lot to cover. So we're going to try and keep it moving, and please be mindful of the schedule. We're going to start with the opening statement from the Pitt County Manager, Scott Elliott. Move on to an operational summary from Pitt County Emergency Management Director, Alan Everett. And then we'll break out into individual segments for statements and questions and answer sessions. We'll start with the municipalities, and then the utilities, and Biden Health, and then we'll go to education institutions, and then finally we'll wrap up with the Sheriff's Office and Red Cross. So please hold all of your questions until we get into this particular section, and do take notes. If you have a question that may reference another agency or entity, please hold on to that until that particular entity is there to speak. We don't want to have a lot of cross-talking or moving back and forth to the podium because, again, we have a lot to cover, so we kind of need to keep this rolling and contained within as short of amount of time as possible. With that said, thank you all for coming. I'm going to turn it over to our County Manager, Scott Elliott, for some opening statements.
Thank you, Mike. Well, good morning, and thank you for everybody for coming to our first multi-agency press conference on Hurricane Florence. Before we begin, I think it's appropriate to take a moment to reflect on the nature of this day, being 9/11, and its significance in our history. As we're all aware, 17 years ago, our nation was forever changed by the heartless and cowardly acts of a handful of people during the terrorist attacks on American soil. Also today has been designated a National Day of Encouragement, as I've heard over the radio this morning. I think with that, if we can be encouraged where we are today compared to what happened 17 years ago, and also thinking of the National Day of Encouragement as we look to face what we are going to with the results of Hurricane Florence. We need to keep each other encouraged with positive words, positive thoughts, positive prayers, and so forth. Let me first begin by saying that while the nature of this meeting is unfortunate, I'm overwhelmed at the swift and positive response from all the municipal and county organizations you see here today. This room is full. This is quite an amazing response. The facts as they stand are that Hurricane Florence is expected to make landfall sometime later this week, with a combination of devastating winds and torrential rains that have not been experienced in this area for many years. However, just as Mother Nature can destroy, human nature can prepare. Before you are representatives of municipalities within Pitt County, along with members of law enforcement, first responders, service providers, and a whole host of other officials. In an unprecedented show of unity, we've all come together as one community to offer a single source for the critical information our residents need to ensure the safety of their property, their livelihoods, and their families. Please note that as we move forward in this hurricane response, it's our intention to continue these joint multi-agency press conferences during the storm event on an as-needed basis. I would ask you to be brief with your questions and mindful of the agenda before you, as Mike Emery has already went over. At this point in time, I will now turn it over to Alan Everett, who is Pitt County's Emergency Management Director. He will give us a brief situational report. Alan?
Thank you, Scott. Good morning. Thank you for being here. As you know, all eyes are on the Atlantic. Today we have 3 hurricanes that are churning as I speak. These storms are named Florence, Helene, and Isaac. This morning I'd like to update you on the operational plans that Pitt County Emergency Management, along with our partner agencies, have developed in preparation for the pending landfall of Hurricane Florence. Florence is a Category 4 with winds of 140 miles per hour. It is expected to remain a Category 4 as it approaches landfall along the coast. Landfall is expected Thursday night into Friday morning as a major hurricane. A hurricane watch has been issued for our area. And what does that mean? That means that the watch is issued because within 48 hours in advance of anticipated onset of tropical storm force winds within our area. Currently, currently 10 to 15 inches of rainfall is expected for Pitt County. If the system stalls out over land, areas could expect 15 to 20 inches of rain. The National Weather Service is telling us that is a real possibility that sometime after this storm makes landfall, it will stall out, resulting in a large amount of rainfall in a certain geographical area. That area remains to be unseen at this point. I will say that the caution with the track should always be taken because as we know that when the track changes, it will result in the path changing and therefore the forecast will change. Pitt County Emergency Management has been actively tracking Florence and developing plans since last Thursday. Throughout the weekend, we continued disseminating information to our partnering agencies. When I refer to our partner agencies, I'm referring to many agencies, but not limited to. I'd like to list just a few. Those agencies are all of our municipalities throughout Pitt County, including those town and city managers and law enforcement leaders. Also, our fire and EMS agencies, North Carolina Emergency Management, Pitt County Schools, county department heads and staff, North Carolina Department of Agriculture, Red Cross, United Way, Salvation Army, Vidant Medical Center, NCDOT, East Carolina, Greenville Utilities, just to name a few. So it's important that we share the information that we have with partner agencies to help them make plans as well. County staff has been participating in conference calls with North Carolina Emergency Management as well as the National Weather Service. We've held meetings with our partner and agencies that provide staffing to the County Emergency Operations Center during times of activation to discuss the hurricane operational needs. The county will be operating 5 general population shelters in partnership with the Red Cross, Department of Social Services, Public Health, Sheriff's Department, and Pitt County Schools. These shelters will open at 6 p.m. tomorrow, Wednesday, and the shelters will be located at Welcome Middle School, Farmville Middle School, Ayden Middle School, Hope Middle School, and E.B. Aycock Middle School. We're also opening the Pitt County Animal Shelter as a pet shelter, and I think Michelle Whaley will be up shortly to talk more about that. In addition to opening shelters, we have also requested assistance from the National Guard as well as swiftwater rescue teams to come into the area to assist with any flood-related emergencies that we may encounter during this incident. Pitt County is the lead agency responsible for emergency management functions, including assisting our municipal partners, I should say, with various requests that they have. And we stand ready to help our municipal partners with any resource requests that they may identify. Our Director of Public Information, Mike Emery, has been providing information to the media as well as on our social media accounts. One important message for everyone, and we can't stress this enough, is the concept of being prepared. Do not underestimate the impacts associated with Florence. That's what we want our citizens, our visitors to know. Do not underestimate this storm. We are facing a potential direct hit from a Category 4 hurricane with 140-mile-per-hour winds. Folks, this is a very dangerous storm. We will encounter lots of rainfall, impassable roads, downed trees, power lines. We could even have tornadic activity as we move through the event, damage to structures. All of these things are possible as a result of any hurricane, but one of a Category 4, it just multiplies the impact. So we need our community to be prepared as we face this storm that's approaching. Time for ensuring citizens and their family members are prepared is getting less with every hour. We know that we will have flash flooding to occur during the storm, but river flooding from inland rainfall could continue for days and weeks after the event, depending upon the track that it takes and the water traveling downstream. We encourage our citizens and visitors to visit the Pitt County website, to go to the Hurricane Florence page to get up-to-date information and access hurricane preparedness checklists both in English and Spanish, as well as a animal preparedness checklist. And in the back of the room, we actually have copies of those brochures for everyone to take back with them. Our county manager, Scott Elliott, and the Pitt County Board of Commissioners are supportive and committed to helping see our community through this approaching natural disaster. Pitt County issued a state of emergency for the unincorporated areas of Pitt County effective 5 p.m. on Monday, September the 10th, yesterday. The initial state of emergency acknowledges the potential impact of Hurricane Florence. I hope every citizen truly appreciates and understands the preparedness and dedication that our fire, EMS, 911, and law enforcement communities have invested in our safety and well-being when called upon to help out, regardless of the type of situation. Today is September the 11th, 2018. 17 years ago today, 412 emergency workers died as a result of helping others. I would ask the community that if you see a first responder, please tell them thank you for what they have done and for what they continue to do for everyone. This hurricane is a very dangerous storm, and no one is immune from being in its path or in her path, so therefore we want you to be alert and prepared as we brace for her potential arrival. We have a slogan in Pitt County Emergency Management that is, one family, one focus. I can assure our community that all the organizations that are here with us today stand ready to do what we can to help everyone weather the storm, but we need everyone to help us, and that is to be prepared. Thank you. Next, I think we'll have the City of Greenville representatives to come up and speak.
Good morning. I'm Mayor P.J. Conley, Mayor of the City of Greenville. Thank you for being here for this important information sharing event. It's great that all of our agencies have come together for this, and I think it shows great collaboration that it's so important when we face circumstances just like this. I want to start by emphasizing to everyone that the threat of this hurricane is real. I know there are many in our area that have been through hurricanes before, but I can't stress enough that the forecast for this hurricane is unlike any of those that we have experienced before. Please take this one seriously. Take this time to ensure that you're prepared by gathering all the supplies recommended for hurricane preparedness kits and making sure that things around your home are also secured. In the coming days, we ask that you continue to follow the city through Severe Weather Alert page online and our social media accounts to get information specific to the City of Greenville and surrounding areas. Fire and Rescue Chief Eric Griffin and Public Works Director Kevin Mulligan are here with me to answer any questions. But before we open it up, I would like to share some of the things that the city's been doing in preparation for this storm. In Fire and Rescue, the city has opened its Emergency Operations Center as of this morning, and city staff has been meeting this morning to discuss ongoing preparations. Rescue equipment has been prepared throughout the city, and the emergency operations plan is being utilized by staff, and we continue to coordinate with the county on various preparations and requests from the state. In Public Works, we have been out clearing ditches and catch basins to help with localized flooding. Additionally, we are placing barricades near areas that we know are prone to flooding to expedite the process of closing roads. We've moved our solid waste collection routes on Thursday and Friday to Wednesday of this week. We're monitoring the storm for transit service, but I'd like to say that it's very likely that Thursday and Friday's services may be canceled. We're also offering sand to citizens who would like to fill bags at our facility on North Holly Street across from the GUC Operations Center on Mumford Road. We have adequate fuel and a contract that guarantees delivery if additional is needed. In police, our emergency operations patrol plan will be in effect, meaning between 80 and 100 officers will be working 12-hour shifts to patrol. We'll be working out of all the substations throughout the event. Also, with regards to animal control, Our Greenville holding and transfer facility will be open only if a mandatory evacuation has been ordered. This holding and transfer facility for pets will be open only to those residents in the corporate city limits of Greenville. We'll be sending out more information about pet boarding soon. Other city actions include working with city contractors to secure construction sites, and code enforcement has been out making an extra effort to remind property owners, tenants, and business owners to secure loose trash cans, outdoor furniture, banners, and etc. We are also making sure that we give our employees time to make the proper preparations for their homes and families. There are many other things happening behind the scenes right now, but these are just a few things that we're doing as a city to be prepared. We ask again that you continue to visit our severe weather alert page on our social media account for the city specific information. We will also be working with the county to provide joint information. As I conclude, I ask that you again, please take this storm seriously and make the proper preparations. During the event, please stay off the roads and adhere to all curfews and evacuations. And thank you for being here, and we're available for any questions. Thank you.
You want,
Do you want to take questions, or?
We're happy to take questions now, if you want,
Yeah.
we want to take, if you want to hear from the city.
Questions answered?
Okay. Questions from the city?
When do you anticipate you might be issuing a evacuation order?
I would say this, Ginger, I think that depends on weather conditions, how rapidly conditions change. We are evaluating flood-prone areas as we speak, and we'll make that call just as soon as we believe it's necessary. As always, we would encourage everybody not to drive through flooded streets and to use good, safe measures. We want everyone to be okay. Other questions? Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
So we're in the municipality section right now, and I'm just going to ask if there's any other municipalities. We can go right down the list alphabetically or whichever, but if there's any other municipalities that have a prepared statement, no, we can show up now. Not? No? Are there any specific questions for any other municipalities that are present? Okay, all right. Well, we can move right along. I think next will be Junior has a question. Yeah.
I didn't know if anyone from the town of Grifton was here. Are y'all going on and ordering any mandatory evacuations?
And please state your name and
I'm Chief Brian Silva with the Grifton Police Department. That's BRINSILVA. And we are concerned about the potential for significant flooding or flash flooding that may occur in Grifton. And we are issuing a voluntary evacuation order as of 12 noon today. The following streets for flash flooding: Pitt Street will be in the evacuation request for voluntary evacuation, Dogwood Lane, and Lewis Drive. On Contentia Creek, we are looking for Main Street, Creek Shore Drive, Mill Branch Circle, Water Street, Contentia Drive. The RV park has been evacuated. Cross Creek Drive, Smith Street, Robert Chapman Drive, Tucker Street, and Cary Lane. Those areas have potential for long-term flooding if this becomes a major rainfall event. If there's any questions, I'll be happy to answer any questions about that.
Are there going to be any shelters set up in Grifton?
We believe Aiden Grifton High School is going to be the closest shelter to Grifton. Aiden Middle School. Anything else? All right, thank you.
Is there anybody here from East Carolina University?
that'll come in the education
Okay.
segment. We're going to move on now to utilities. We have Steve Holly from Green Utilities.
Good morning, Steve Hawley, Hawley. I'm the Communications Manager and Public Information Officer for Greenville Utilities. GUC, like the other agencies here in this room, has been monitoring Florence since last week. Started making preparations then with making sure we had supplies ordered and on hand. This week we've been making sure our equipment is properly working, generators are functioning, the gas tanks are all topped off, and we've started pre-positioning different supplies throughout our system so that we can make sure that we could respond quickly and efficiently to our customers should any outages pop up. We have asked for some assistance from other public power agencies for mutual aid to pre-stage some different assets throughout the system, just in case we do need to have that. Our tree trimming crews have been hard at work all year to try to make sure that lines are clear so that when the winds whip, the trees hopefully won't be touching them. If the trees come down, then it's a completely different situation. We'd like to ask that all of our customers go ahead and, if you have cell phones, take our emergency hotline number and put it into your contact list. So our number is 855-SOS, the number 2, GUC, 855-SOS-2-GUC, and also put your account number in the notes section. That way, if you do have an outage, it'll be quick and easy to find that number. You don't have to search for it. Make a quick call. If you call that hotline number, you'll get right into our system, and our crews will be able to respond. If you have to call through other phone numbers, it's going to delay responses. So please use that hotline number. It'll only take you a second to actually put it into your contact list. And also get familiar with our outage map. We've updated the outage map system this year so that we can actually show in real time where outages are and estimates for a number of customers who are out, and also when the power is expected to be restored. So members of the media especially, if you're calling us to find out about outages, go to the outage map first, because that's where I'm going to turn first, because that's, once we have a confirmed outage, it will show up as a confirmed outage with an estimate of the number of customers and also the expected restoration time. We will be posting information on our website, guc.com, as well as on social media, Facebook and Twitter. But we ask our customers, please do not use social media to tell us you have an outage, because you will delay getting service restored. Go to our emergency hotline, 855-SOS-2-GUC. Take any questions you have? Yes.
Is there any area in which you haven't gotten to yet that you're mostly concerned about?
Gotten to in what regard? I'm sorry.
I guess scan the area for any type of potential outage.
Oh, sure. Our system is clear right now, and our crews are always looking at the system to make sure, but we do send out trucks from time to time. And that's an important thing to think about when you have an outage. If you don't have power and you see a GUC truck drive right by, but they don't stop at your house, please know that we are riding out the line, is what they call it. And they start through the system to make sure they know exactly where the outage, the problem is, so that they can fix that right away. And we ask that you have patience for us, because if it's a major event, it's going to take some time.
Is there any concern about the storm's impact on the water system?
Typically, no, but we do have a lot of preparations that we've taken care of because of what happened with Floyd. So between building the berm around the water treatment plants and the pump system that we've installed, they've tested that already, and that's operational. It should be good to go. We also have done some things at our wastewater treatment plant to help ensure that we can push wastewater through the system in the event of a heavy flooding situation. So we're not as concerned, but we have been checking the system, and we are very confident in it.
Can I ask one more question? GUC has historically done a really good job of keeping the lights on during these storms.
Thank you.
Except, I mean, there was like Irene, and
Sure.
kind of the grid was down
Sure.
for a little while. What do you think is going to happen with this storm? I mean, are you predicting widespread outages?
It really just happens to depend on the track. The big problem we've had in some storms have been wind events like Irene. Some storms have been huge rain events where you have the flooding like in Floyd. We haven't had an event yet, knock on wood, that's been a combination of heavy rains that cause flooding and heavy winds that cause a lot of outages. Thankfully, we have had some dry weather the past couple of weeks. Our big problem with trees going down, like with Irene, is if you get a lot of rain and the soil gets moist, it's a lot easier for those trees to blow over onto the power lines. So we're just hopeful, we're prepared for the worst and hoping for the best. Great. Thank you.
Moving along, it's not specifically listed in your agenda because it was printed a little bit earlier, but now we have representatives from Vidant Health.
Good morning, I'm Brian Floyd. I'm the president of Vidant Medical Center and chief operating officer for Vidant Health Hospitals. It's a privilege to be here with you today. Let me first say at Vidant Health, our mission is to improve the health and well-being of Eastern North Carolina. We do that across 8 hospitals and a lot of clinics in the East. It is our privilege to do that. And on behalf of the 13,000 people that work with us, we will be here to help ensure the health and well-being of the people of Eastern North Carolina through this storm. It's what we do, and I'm so proud of our teams, and I want to first say thank you to those 13,000 people, the physicians, staff, and everyone who will be working very hard over the next coming days to keep our hospitals open and take care of those in critical need. I want to thank them and their families for their dedication. I know this will be a long few days for us. All 8 of our hospitals are open and fully operational. We are monitoring the storm on an ongoing basis to see if there are certain conditions under which that would change, but as of right now, our intent is to remain open in all 8 locations, including the Outer Banks Hospital. We do need to reduce capacity in these hospitals as much as we can in anticipation of the storm. So some closings will take place. Let me first say across each of those hospitals and in those local hospital environments, you can call locally the hospital to see if there are any changes that you're concerned about. But in general, our Vidant Medical Group clinics, Vidant Health Physician Office clinics, will be closing on Thursday and Friday. Our partners at ECU Physicians notified me as well on the way over here. They will be closing their clinics on Thursday and Friday as well. Vidant Surgery Center here in Greenville will be closing on Thursday and Friday. Our other outpatient procedural areas like sleep centers, endoscopy centers, they will be closing on Thursday and Friday. Vidant Medical Center will reduce its capacity also by avoiding elective, non-urgent surgeries and procedures on Thursday and Friday. Now, all patients who are affected by any of these closures will be notified by us directly. We will call you directly and let you know the plan for your procedures if those are going to change. To help you stay well informed, we're also providing some resources at vidanthealth.com. You can find information there about the storm, but also about Vidant Health and its operations across any of those locations that I mentioned earlier. You can also call us at 1-855-MY-VIDANT if you have questions, and one of our attendants will help you. And then you can also follow us on Facebook or Twitter at Vidant Health on Facebook and Twitter. And then for those patients with low acuity needs, non-critical or emergent needs, if you have questions or need to speak to our care teams, feel free to use our virtual care center at vidantnow.com/virtual care. And we can have a care team that can attend to your needs on a non-critical, low acuity kind of basis over the internet directly. So with that, that's the status of Vidant Health at this point in time. I'll take any questions if you have any. Yes, ma'am.
Are you guys taking any volunteer EMTs?
So obviously over time our needs may change and we may have the need for additional support and help. We'll be reaching out across these media for that. If people have interest in volunteering to help us, you can call us at the 1-855-MY-VIDANT, let us know that, and we'll find a way to create a list for the individuals who may need the help. One of the things we don't want to do is overwhelm the system on the front end by having a lot of people to come help at this point in time, but we appreciate that, and we may need that help later on. And if you'll call that number, let us know. We'll keep track of that. Any other questions?
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Up next, we'll have Pitt County Schools.
Good morning. I'm Ethan Lanker, school superintendent. With me is Matt Johnson, my assistant superintendent for operations. He's the one who's going to be in charge really for the next 4 days. And then Jennifer Johnson, the new public information officer for Pitt County Schools, who started yesterday. So she's getting it all in 1 week. But we have announced that Pitt County Schools will close 3 hours early tomorrow, and obviously we'll be closed Thursday and Friday as well. And then we'll reassess what happens next week when we see where the storm ends up going. Questions? I know we're working with the Red Cross for the shelters. And our child nutrition department is already prepping, moving food around, so we'll have additional food at those, at this point, the 5 schools that were mentioned earlier. So we'll be able to support them as well as they need. Pretty straightforward. We're closing.
So you said that you are moving food to those shelters, but should people bring their own food also?
We need to coordinate that with the Red Cross, as once they come into the building, it'll be theirs to determine what comes in and out. Sure.
Sure.
Hi, this is Callie with the Red Cross, Callie Edwards, and we will have food in shelters, so it is not necessary to bring your own food. However, if you have dietary restrictions, we encourage you to bring what you can with you first, because initially in those first few days, it may take some time to get special diet food in. So if you have special needs for food, medications, those types of things, I encourage you to bring those with you to the shelter.
Thank you.
Reiterate that one.
Any other questions for the schools?
Would you name what schools they were?
It's Farmville Middle School, Welcome Middle School, Hope Middle School, Aiden Middle School, and E.B. Aycock.
And we can provide that information in written form, along with the schedule times as well. All right, thank you, Dr. Lee. We're going to move on to ECU now.
Hi, I'm Bill Koch. I'm the Associate Vice Chancellor for Environmental Health and Campus Safety.
Virginia Hardy, Vice Chancellor for Student Affairs.
Yesterday, at about 1 p.m., we canceled classes starting at noon today. The intent of that is, and they will be canceled throughout the week. So the intent is to encourage, as much as we can, our students to leave town to a safe location, hopefully with their family. And based on past experience, that works very well. I think by noon today, you'll be seeing more and more people leaving, and we hope to limit the amount of students that are left here. Those who are remaining with us, we'll be reaching out to them. We may have some students left in residence halls who cannot go home, especially international students. We're working through our plan right now on how to accommodate them, as well as continue to encourage students to leave the area.
So the students, the out-of-state students and others who are left in the halls, we're not anticipating that there will be a large number of them. However, for those who are, we will be providing them with the resources they need while they're still here. Our goal is for those students to be with their families as best as possible, which is why we decided to make that decision yesterday to give them ample time to be able to travel. Questions?
When you say resources they need, what are some of those resources
We
that will
will,
be available?
sure. We will still have, our professional staff will still be in the halls with the students. We will also be providing students with food services during that time period. It will be a limited food service, but we will provide that for students. And of course, they'll be in a safe spot within the resident halls.
What about students that live off campus? Will they be able to come and temporarily stay at residence halls, especially if they have to evacuate
Correct.
areas?
We're hoping that those students, we've encouraged those students who also live off campus to please go ahead and travel home or to another safe space. For those individuals who are not able to do that, we will be, if possible and necessary, we might bring them into the halls. Right now, all of our rooms are occupied with students, but we also will be utilizing the shelters that were just named for us. Yes.
So you said you were going to provide food options. Are you saying like Todd and Weston, or will you have some of the restaurants open on campus, or will Airmark be serving food? What?
Correct. So there will be limited hours for the dining hall specifically. We will, Todd Dining Hall as well as West End Dining Hall will be closed starting on Friday. But however, we will be providing water and food to the halls through pre-prepared food services, as well as some of our non-perishable items. So we'll have sandwiches and other things for our students. And we'll reopen when we're able.
And then my last question. So for students that have gone home, hopefully to safe ground, what should they be doing other than monitoring the storm when they start making their preparations to come back? I know that really depends on how it floods, but just to kind of see into start making prep for that.
So one of the things is to keep monitoring the ECU webpage and the social media. We do have a call center currently set up, and they can use that call center to ask questions about what things they need to do. If they're in the resident halls and coming back to campus to live there, some of those options are going to be a little bit easier for us. If they're going into their own apartments, and depending on what that situation is for that various department, they'll need to talk to the landlords there, the apartment managers, about what things they'll need to do. We do encourage them when they leave to take their valuable items, to take medications and things of that nature when they are leaving us.
I know ECU campus is prone to some serious flooding conditions. Is there anything that you guys are working on right now to try to decrease that potential mass flooding damage?
Well, Hurricane Floyd was a good test for us, and we identified some locations where we needed to put in some floodgates and just some changes in piping that with the stormwater system that could help us. We actually had limited flooding on our campus buildings during Floyd, and so we expect limited flooding of our campus buildings in this situation. We are expecting flooding all around us, and we have two parking lots that are prone to flooding, and so part of our plan normally is when we think we're going to get a lot of rain, we'll close those lots. That's part of the reason why we're also not allowing employees on campus starting Wednesday at 5 o'clock and through Sunday at 5 o'clock. That's, we call that a condition 2, and we are only allowing mandatory employees on campus at that point. That allows us to clear out those parking lots and then close them so that any flooding does not impact or cause any property damage. Also say that we're going to continue talking with our students. We had a very informative Facebook Live session, which is on our website. Our parents viewed that, our students view that. That worked very well in previous emergencies, and we'll continue to do those. Our emergency management team has been monitoring this storm since late last week, and even throughout the football game where we're monitoring storm potential during the game as well as the hurricane itself. And our emergency management team is meeting right now in another meeting that they've had to continue our planning. We started our 72-hour plan on Monday, and we continue through those preparations throughout campus.
Should students in Scott and Gateway be concerned about flooding since they are by the bottom of College Hill?
Actually, Scott and Gateway are at the top of College Hill, and so they're probably one of our higher points on campus, and we have not had flooding. Now, that's not to say that we won't get wind-blown rain into windows and into doorways and things like that, but we do a lot of preparation to try to minimize that potential, whether it's sandbags or other materials.
Are you guys allocating any funds to people who might not be able to leave? Like, are you guys trying to help them leave in any type of way if they're not able?
With funds, that was.
Yes.
Students who may need some travel dollars, we do have opportunities for that through emergency funding. As of right now, we've not had any of those requests, but we do have emergency funding available for our students.
How do they request that?
There's a form online that students can go to and fill out. There's also, of course, they can always go to the Dean of Students office or to anybody else on campus, a professor or anyone else can help direct them to the emergency funding.
How long would that take to actually get?
In this situation, we would make it immediate.
Where online can you find the form?
We can get that back to you as far as a website.
All right. For the employees, you said that starting Wednesday at 5 p.m., they're going to be told to stay home. What classification? I can't find the right word. Excuse me. What classification will that be? Are they going to have to take personal time, or what? Right. Will that consist of?
So classes were canceled, or are canceled at noon today. And at noon today, our employees will go into what we call Condition 1, which allows them to work with their supervisors to take leave time to go prepare their home and prepare their family so that if we need them or when it's time for them to come back, their family's safe and they can return to us. As of Wednesday at 5 p.m., when we think the storm will start feeling effects, we'll go to Condition 2 throughout Sunday. Condition 2 is a situation where we only allow mandatory employees on campus. And those who are not mandatory cannot come on campus. And by state rule, they have to use leave time in both situations, Condition 1 and Condition 2.
Moving along now, I did not see a representative from Pitt Community College. If there is one, please let me know. I apologize if I missed you. Okay, if not, we're going to move along to the sheriff's office.
I see we have several other law enforcement agencies here. If you would, Chief, from 2 agencies, come up. Anybody else? Chief Green, if you would. And just stand with me in case they have a question or two for you guys or comments you'd like to make. Yeah, Griffin, you come on back up. While they come, I want to thank you guys for coming. You know, it's sad to say we've had this dress rehearsal too many times. I think Floyd was probably going to be a dress rehearsal compared to what this storm is predicting. We are very concerned about this storm. This is not a Pitt County storm, it's an eastern North Carolina storm. When I say that, you got to remember our resources on the state level and joining county level is going to be very limited. Several requests have already been put in by the emergency manager, and they basically said, do the best you can do. So that's where we're at. So we encourage everybody to prepare. Prepare. If you should already have your house ready. Tomorrow night at 5 o'clock is the drop dead time. Don't be out on the road anymore. Be prepared. Get it done today, tomorrow. Always remember during the height of the storm, our officers, there will be a certain time or the speed, we'll make that call that the emergency responders will be taken off the road and will not be responding. However, they will be stationed throughout the county. And a case by case, we have to weigh it against the odds if we will respond. During Floyd, we had to respond and put our officers at risk over domestic involving alcohol. So I urge our citizens to stay home, behave yourself, don't indulge in alcohol, and don't put our officers in harm's way. If it comes down to evacuation, we'll be doing that as needed. We work hand in hand with the emergency manager to make those calls. After the storm passes through and it is safe, we will deploy our officers into the area to do an assessment and see where we're at and what we can do. First and foremost, our citizens is our #1 safety that we want to provide safety for. I'll give you a non-emergency number to the sheriff's office you can call, so you don't have to type 911. That number is 830-4141. Again, that number, non-emergency, is 830-4141. We will be posting things on our Facebook and our social media sites. Check on your neighbors. Make sure your neighbors are good. Check on your seniors that live in your neighborhood. We have a senior check program. I've instructed our people to call our seniors today and see if any special needs need to be taken care of. There are several seniors throughout this county that don't have any relatives, and they live alone. Keep a check on them. And like I said, be prepared. Be ready to handle. We have 350 employees. In the next couple of days, we'll be dividing into an A shift and a B shift. Everybody will be working a 12-hour shift throughout this storm and the weeks to come. And just, I was going to say a while ago about it being a eastern North Carolina storm, we may be subject to go help other citizens throughout the county. But first and foremost, Pitt County is our #1 concern. Anytime you have a storm this big, our resources are very limited, you know, so we have to rely on our own resources, our partners. We have to rely on them. And this is a very dangerous storm, and sadly to say it's probably going to be a deadly storm. So let's do what we can to keep the first responders where they need to be and responding to those calls they need to, and be prepared to stay home for a couple of days if you need to. You got any comments before we ask questions? Okay, anytime anybody got any questions for myself, this is the Chief of Grifton, Chief of Farmville, and Chief of Bethel.
Again, right now, it's only Grifton that has voluntary evacuations in the area.
That's correct.
Sir, did I understand you correctly that the State Department Division of Emergency Management is offering no assistance?
Yes, since they're not looking to deploy special resources. One of the things we encountered was with the dogs, trying to get animal preparations for them for additional kennels to come in. We are on the list. I don't know if it's been approved yet. And Alan may speak more about that, about the rescue teams, Swiftwater Rescue. Have you got those approved, Alan?
Yeah, basically, yeah, and I'll be glad to.
Okay, he's going to address that. I didn't want to steal his. But in high water vehicles, that's what I'm talking about. What I'm trying to say is the National Guard has been put on call, but it's going to kind of be who and where the resources need to be deployed based on what we're dealing with. And you got to realize this is going to be a massive storm, and it's going to have major damage, and you know, we're just going to have to work through it. Anybody else? All right, thank you very much.
Last up, we have the Red Cross.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Callie Edwards. I'm the Executive Director for the Northeast Chapter of the Red Cross. Along with Pitt County, I help serve 20 counties in northeastern North Carolina. And before I get started, I just wanted to thank all of our Pitt County staff and officials and our law enforcement that have been doing so much great work to prepare us for this event. And also many of these folks from health services, from Department of Social Services, law enforcement, emergency management, all of them are going to be working hand in hand with us during this event. So I just want to give them thanks, special kudos. The Red Cross is standing up operations throughout North Carolina. We have a very active response planned. However, we also are working with each county's emergency management to determine what resources are needed and available, as well as working with the state emergency management as well. And so there's a couple things that I want to highlight today. First and foremost, we've mentioned the shelters that are going to be opening in Pitt County, those 5 shelters. What I recommend for citizens that might be seeking going to those shelters, to think about if you were going to go overnight for a couple of nights to a friend's house or something like that, what would you need with you? A couple of pairs of clothing. If you have a special need diet, for example, if you are gluten-free or something like that, what can you bring with you to help you get through those couple of days? In addition, we want you to think about medications and important papers. I recommend that if you have medications that are starting to look like there's only 1 or 2 pills left, get those filled today or tomorrow. Do not wait. We do not want a minor inconvenience to become a health emergency. Those are items that you should bring with you to a shelter. The other thing that I want to recommend for folks is your preparedness plan needs to involve your pets as well. Pets are members of the family. Service animals are welcome in shelters, and we work with our partners to help shelter animals during these events. Pitt County Emergency Management will be adding pet information to their page shortly. In addition to that, you can go to Red Cross's Pet First Aid app, and that has preparedness resources for you and your pet, also lists pet-friendly hotels and other information. Staying informed during this event will also be very, very important. You'll want to check the Pitt County information page. Redcross.org is also going to be a great source of information, and the Red Cross Emergency app, which is another free app that you can download. You can get a list of shelters from that app and get updates, especially weather and storm updates as they occur. The other great thing that I like to mention about that app is it can tell you by your personal location what is going on as far as weather response, but then you can also add additional zip codes to it if you want to monitor other locations in North Carolina, South Carolina, wherever it might be, and get those alerts. I often use the example, my mother lives out of state. I have no idea what's going on in her area, so the zip code finder helps me be alerted to things that I need to check in with her and assist her with. The other thing that you can also rely on is North Carolina has something called 211. It's just like dialing 911, but it's 211. And that is through our United Way. It is statewide, and it is a directory of information and resources that you can call them and find out by county. And they also are very connected to the State Emergency Operations Center. We'll have lists of shelters and other resources throughout this event. In addition, I do want to mention that we will be needing volunteers after this event. This is going to be a long event for many of us, and volunteers will be an important part of what we do. For example, when we had Hurricane Matthew here a couple of years ago, we had over 2,400 Red Cross volunteers that came into Eastern North Carolina to assist us. 800 of those were right here from North Carolina. So a lot of folks came in from other places, and we do see that happening again, but we want to hold up as strong as we can be locally as well. We invite you to go to redcross.org/ENC, or if you just go to redcross.org, you can fill out your volunteer application today. I do not recommend calling the office or stopping in the office. You need to do it online to get that process started. We will expect a high volume of applications. I promise you a member of our volunteer service team will get with you as soon as possible, but it will help expedite it if you put in that online application. And I would do it now while the power is up and running. Lastly, I would just probably want to also let folks know on our materials, our apps, our redcross.org, there's also information available in Spanish. So if you have questions or want to have some information available in Spanish, please see those resources or give our office a call, and we can provide paper materials in Spanish as well. And then lastly, I just want to mention that right now, the focus for your emergency managers, whether in White County, by state, your Red Cross, Salvation Army, all of our wonderful partners that are involved in this effort. The focus right now will be on life safety and response. And as we know, we don't know exactly where and what is going to happen in the next few days, but we will be ready for it and we will bounce back from it. And so just know that that's going to be the focus. At some point, there will be opportunities to be able to donate in-kind items. But right now, I would focus on taking care of yourself, your home, preparing, and then when those resources or opportunities to donate those types of items are available, they'll be made available and information will be out. But right now, the focus really is going to be on life, safety, and response. Yes, sir.
What was the name of the app?
The two apps that I mentioned, there is one called the Red Cross Emergency app, and that is both of these are available by Android and by Apple. And then the other one is the Pet First Aid app, and both of those are free. And they also have tools on there that you can use, and a lot of the content is available without having to be online. So even if you don't have online access, some of that content is there. In addition, I'll mention that we also have a first aid app for people. And so that is a great resource as well to have at your fingertips. If you are seeing something that you have a question of, you're trying to assist somebody, there's great information on there. One thing that I don't think one thing I think we mentioned, but I think I want to reiterate, is the first few days are going to be on you. You have to have some self-resilience and prepare. And so you want to try to have as much available to you if you stay where you are, if you have to be on your own for a couple days, be prepared to do that. It will take some time before emergency responders can always get to places because roads will be closed. There'll be river flooding and all those things that you guys have experienced before. So as our sheriff mentioned, check on your neighbor, check on your folks close to you. That's going to help us get through this. Other questions?
Do you know how many people those 5 shelters would be able to hold, like in total?
I don't know the offhand capacity of them, but what we can do is, if and when we have to mobilize additional shelters, the Red Cross and Pitt County management would look at what additional shelters need to be opened.
If someone want to make a monetary donation to the Red Cross, how do they do that?
That's a great question. For the Red Cross, we will be fundraising to help support this effort for our disaster response. You can do that by going to redcross.org, calling 1-800-RED-CROSS, or if you would like to mail a donation or drop it off at the Red Cross office in Greenville, our address is 700A Cromwell Drive, Greenville 27858. We're in the same building as the Blood Center. And which reminds me, I'm going to bring this up because many of our blood drives are going to be affected by this event. Since schools are going to be canceled, a lot of our drives have been canceled. And so if and when you see a drive that is coming up in the near future, please help us. Please help your community by giving a blood donation as soon as you can.
As far as the shelters, are they going to be available mainly to Pitt County residents, or what about residents evacuating from the coast? Where should they go?
These are general occupancy, shelters, and so anyone that is needing shelter any Red Cross shelter is an open shelter for that capacity. I know Alan Everett may want to say something about this for the emergency management, but that is one of the things that, as we mentioned previously, the state, Red Cross, and everyone is looking at is for these evacuations that are happening, what size shelters are needed and capacities and so forth. I think we'll see more information on that later today, but for right now, focusing on what we have in Pitt County, would be our 5 options that we're starting with.
What about a medical shelter?
Great question as well. For medical needs, we try to house people in the same shelter for whatever their medical need might be. So we have Red Cross nurses, we have Department of Health Services nurses from Pitt County that are available to help connect and make sure that we can either try to shelter them in the shelter, or if we need to have different alternate shelter locations or information available. So we work through that, particularly with the health services in those first couple of days. We work hand in hand in that. Did you want to mention anything about that, John?
No, I think we've got nurses staffing from public health as well as the school health nurses from Biden will be assisting us with that, and we've requested additional resources from other public health departments, either in the western part of the state or from other states. During Matthew, we had 4 nurses, for instance, that came from Tennessee that assisted us in operations of special needs shelters. So we'll be doing the same sort of thing this time.
Any other questions? Well, thank you so much. It's going to be a long haul, so we appreciate everyone's diligence, and I will hand it back over.
Just going to call a quick audible here. There's a little bit more content that could be covered in Director Everett's summary earlier. So we're going to have Michelle Whaley of Animal Services come up and give some overviews of that.
Good afternoon. My name is Michelle Whaley. I'm Director of Pitt County Animal Services. Our plan in Pitt County is once human shelters open, which will be tomorrow at 6 p.m. As we heard earlier, the animal shelter will be open to accept pets. If you can take your pet with you, please do so. I cannot stress that enough. As our sheriff alluded, our request that we put in yesterday morning for more crates was denied. They want to hold resources where they are right now. So I'm a little uneasy that we will not have the same capacity that we did in Matthew. And if those of you that were around during Hurricane Matthew, we had over 205 pets at that time. So we need to reserve our space for those that only option is to go to the 5 human shelters that are opening up due to we're a little concerned about what our capacity may look like. If you must bring your pet to us, we will accept, of course, as many pets as possible. We do not want to be in the position to turn people away. We ask that you, 1, bring any crates, if you have them at home for your pets, with you. Bring any medications, special foods, and if you can get them or have them, your vaccination records are super helpful. And if you can go ahead and get a collar and identification on your pet for those that may be brought to us, or if you're riding out the storm at home, go ahead and dig out those collars, ID tags. You can write with the Sharpie marker on the inside of the collar your name and phone number, but please let's go ahead and get some identification on those pets. I've seen over the last several days a lot of rumors about what the Pets Act after Hurricane Katrina entails. I do want to clear that up. It does not say that private businesses and hotels have to take your pets. That is false. It is a rumor. All it says is that states and counties, if they want to be eligible for FEMA reimbursement, is that they have to have a plan. In Pitt County, our plan is us at the Animal Services. So I do want to clear that up and make sure that that rumor and the truth can get out there. Currently, right now, in my division, Pitt County Animal Control officers are only being able to answer emergency calls, and the shelter is not accepting any animals until the human shelters are open. We really need you to be patient and understand that we really need this extra day to prep. We have 100% cooperation from the farmers market, and they are giving their vendors time to do business as usual today and to clear their personal items out so that we can move into that facility tomorrow. 2 years ago, we exceeded the capacity at our physical structure very, very quick. So I fully anticipate with this storm, that will happen, and we will be moving into the farmers market as well. A reminder again to please make your plans now, get out before the storm. Once the winds increase and floodings begin, we will not be able to get out to rescue you or your animals. The sheriff reiterated that earlier. Once the winds get to a certain speed, once the flooding occurs, we don't have superpowers and we cannot get to you. Human life, obviously, we all love pets, but human life has to come first. And we're going to do the best we can, but we still have today, you still have tomorrow, you have time to make plans and get those pets to safety as well as yourselves. So please do not put our first responders at risk. And I just want to clarify that, when it comes to a certain point and it's unsafe, we have to protect our resources and personnel as well. Online, there is the Hurricane Pet Edition checklist on the Pitt County website in English and Spanish that gives you an idea of certain supplies that you should have for your pet. Any questions? Perfect, thank you.
Thank you, everybody. I don't know if the manager wanted to have, is there any closing statement you want to make? Okay, all right. With that said, then I think we've done pretty good to get this amount of information put out in such a short amount of time. Having said that, it is a lot of information, so this video will be available once we're done here. We'll put it on the Pitt County website, and that is the one website we're trying to push from our end is pittcountync.gov/Florence. That is the emergency information page of the Pitt County website. I'll say it again, pittcountync.gov/Florence. And that is where all of the information regarding Pitt County emergency management and Pitt County government efforts during this event will be posted. At there, as Michelle alluded to, you can also download the hurricane checklist and information lists. There's a download for that, as well as the pet checklist as well. Those are available in both English and Spanish. I want to thank you all for coming. Sorry? Oh, is it, I'm sorry?
Someone out there had a question about resources not, let me make a clarification on that.
Again, I'll be brief. I think there was a couple questions that related to state support for resources that have been requested. I want to clarify that the state is indeed working with us as a county, as they are with all other counties, to get the appropriate resources. As we talked about earlier, there are a number of counties that are being impacted by this storm. So therefore, all counties are looking for those resources that are outside of their jurisdiction. Pitt County is no exception. So what we do is we ask North Carolina Emergency Management that we need a particular resource or resources, and if they do not have them there readily available that they can begin to have forward movement to get them to us, then they must look beyond the state of North Carolina for those resources, and that's actually what's happening now. There was an example mentioned about some animal support services. We have a limited supply of that here in our county, so we asked the state for additional support. They did not have any available in state, so they reached out of state to locate that resource for us to get it here. So I just want to clarify that it's not that the state of North Carolina is not supporting us in resources. They are. They're actually going beyond the state line to look for resources that not only Pitt County, but all other impacted counties are in need of as well. Does that clear up? All right, thank you.
All right, I think about wraps it up. Want to say a big thank you to all of our municipalities for attending and all of the other community partners and organizations for attending today. Again, this will be rebroadcast on the county's channel, Pitt TV, Suddenlink Cable Channel 13, as well as online, and we'll put a link to that on the emergency information page, which again is pittcountync.gov/Florence. And we also want to give a big thank you to Dr. Bass Knight and the Eastern Health staff for the AHEC here and the use of this facility today. Thank you all for coming, and have a good day.